Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. Your boy Road Dog here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. King, Karl Bryan. Sir, how are you this fine day?
Yo ho ho, Road Dog, my boy. How you doing, my man?
You know, I'm gonna just take a time out here, my friend, just for a quick second, because I'm gonna start on a bit of a serious note, because it's everybody's listening. This whole situation is still unfolding, obviously, and we're all starting to go a little stir crazy. But in all seriousness, as a coaching community, if you guys are not on Karl's email list, make sure that you get on that, because he sent out sort of a bit of a tongue-in-cheek email this morning. But at the end of it, there was a very serious thing, and this is something that actually happened. And it's in regards to yet another suicide. And I think that this is a very serious topic. And I just want to say that as coaches, as a community, Karl, would you not agree? Like, we can provide some hope to the folks that are really struggling right now and are just unsure whether or not that they can make it through. So I just wanted to really just throw that out there before we get going. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Oh, my brother. Yes, this is a topic. I'm a little careful here, man. I don't want to. So my big brother committed suicide when I was 16 years old over a business failing. Very serious. It just is, and I probably don't need to say another word about it. You can understand where it fits on the grand scheme of things, both on a personal and a macro level. So, yeah, and I have. Well, look, this weekend, I said it in my email, man. This isn't bullshit. This isn't marketing, man. This is one of my clients, Brian Duckworth. His nephew committed suicide on the weekend, right? Like, does it have to do with being locked in his house? Like, I'll just enter common sense corner, and what do you think, right? And it's like, guys, so it's real. My email was reasonably, it was a little bit scathing towards government officials making $200,000 a year and making decisions on our behalf, and they have exactly zero to lose. Like, the government official doesn't have to worry about their retirement. The government official doesn't have to worry about their $200,000 salary. Their monthly, is their money going to hit their bank account, this month? Yes, they have absolutely nothing to lose. Retirement, income, benefits, nothing. What they have is a friggin', I don't want to say that all of a sudden it's a holiday for them, right? Because they're hanging out. But the truth is, and you just go to any media outlet, there's pictures of them in their lake houses and their holiday houses and their beach houses hanging out. So these are the people that are making decisions on your behalf, whether or not you can go in and, whether or not they're going to open up the economy. I can't even believe I'm saying a statement that's as stupid as that, but opening up the economy again, like, hello. But so more on topic here, Road Dog. I have got clients. I'm very high, and a lot of my clients are listening to this. High-profile clients that every one of them would know of, who have contemplated very seriously to the point of, frankly, they like literally the precipice of following through on suicide. And the reason is, like one example would be life insurance money, like thinking this is actually a good idea, like this is actually a solution to the problem. Again, I have another example of a guy, it's just, again, and I'm not going to, just high profile guy in our community, and he's just literally, we've had multiple heart-to-heart conversations on it. And, people, like, again, you're to a man. Okay. If you're wondering, I'll just tell you this. If you're wondering why a man commits suicide, it's one word: identity. Okay. When you feel like your identity, like, you're not living up to your identity, and a whole bunch of it, it's been crushed, this, that, and the other. A lot of men carry their career at a super, super high level, again, to the point of identity. And if you don't understand kind of what I mean, like that word, it's all encompassing and a very powerful one. Your identity is only everything to you. Okay, so when your business is tied up and your identity is tied up in your business, rightly or wrongly, don't get all big, don't be careful to get judgmental there, like, oh, what an idiot. No, it's not the way it works, right? It's just the way it happens. And when it goes sideways, it can be very, very difficult. So I don't know. I don't need to know. You have to provide, just be kind, right? All this shaming, something else that is driving me personally nuts. And I mentioned in this email, and I'll mention it more, and I put it on my Facebook page, the bloody shaming, right? Like so this weekend, a friend of mine had it was his birthday. Heaven forbid, he wanted to get a few friends together on his driveway, and everybody's 6 feet apart, and everybody's being responsible, and we're like adults, right? And there's a neighbor comes out on her balcony and is taking photos of us. Like, what do you think? What do you think? She's not taking photos because she wants to send them to him and say, hey, here's a cool party. Here's a picture of your party, right? Like, it's all like a shaming thing, right? And like the whole shaming, like, I got a 6-year-old daughter, right? Like, she can't ride her bike out on the street, or at least it feels like that. We're not totally in lockdown, whatever, but like, you get what I'm going with there, guys. I'd imagine like the whole shaming part of this thing is just crazy. And I would just encourage you to not, obviously, I don't think the folks that are listening to this, because we're all entrepreneurs, and I think we get it at a higher level, but it's your friends and your folks that work for the government and everything else. They just want to scream in Facebook, stay home, stay home, stay home. And then heaven forbid you don't want to stay home. It's like you're going to murder all these old people, right? Like, just give me a frigging break. It's such a joke. It makes me want to friggin' scream. But anyway, but at the same time, do we all run outside and hug and kiss? No, I don't think that's the solution either. But I think, closing down the economy for an extended period of time is going to do more harm. The depression, the suicide, the separations, the divorces, the invisible forces that are coming as a result of this. Like, what do we say about video games and whatnot? You want to keep your kids away from video games. How could they possibly be doing any good? Well, if you're a 16-year-old and you're not allowed to go outside, what the hell would you be doing? Like, give me a freaking break. Anyway, so I'm not sure I'm answering that one the way you intended, but it's just keep your head up, folks. This is going to be over. We are going to come back bigger, badder, stronger. There's no question. Always do, always will. But that being said, it is a tough time for all of us. And, these types of things are happening. So, suicide hotlines are up like thousands of percentages right now. Do you think that's an accident? No. I've got a 22-year-old daughter also. She's not having the easiest time with this. Like, she lives alone. Luckily, thank goodness, otherwise she would be here with us. But she's actually going, like, she has a job where she goes to work every day. But she's coming home and she's by herself at nighttime, right? And it's a difficult one, mate. So let's move on from that one, or unless there's anything else you want to add, Bud. But it's a tough situation. It's one very, very close to my heart. Like I said, I kind of dancing around it a little bit here because I get a little bit emotional. But it's tough, dude. Like,
the only thing I'm going to add here, Carl, is that lady was not just a neighbor. I may have tipped the paparazzi that you were going out, lowering the drawbridge over the moat. So there you go. Anyways,
oh my God.
So just on this note though, because this is sort of tying in a little bit, and I just want to say, like, the first question is, it just says, I'm thinking about buying a business. What advice would you give on what to look for and where to look? But just before we even go there, like, obviously in the times that we're in today, like, there's going to be a lot of people looking to shut down. There's a lot of people looking to sell. Like, you and I are seeing it. And by the way, it's kind of interesting. The Vancouver Aquarium, the science world in Vancouver, they're both talking about the distinct possibility of not reopening. I personally find that 1 month, and you're that exposed in your business, you had no contingency, you're making no effort to do anything inside of your business besides just throwing your hands up in the air and hoping the public supports you, is kind of pathetic in my eyes. But on that note,
I think
a lot of businesses are looking to sell possibly. So to answer and tie that in, if you're looking of possibly buying a business, probably never been a better time to do so. What advice would you give somebody?
Yeah, so just on because look, the aquarium though, is that Road Dog, you're right. If you don't have 1 month's grace, up your sleeve, you weren't operating the greatest business in the world for sure. One of the things though with the aquarium is the fish need to continue to eat. So and someone needs to be paid to go in there and feed them. And so they're run it's like the zoo. I can't remember what zoo it was. It might be in San Diego where I read that it cost them $1 million a month to run their operation, which blew my mind. That's without, and there's no one coming in. That's just feeding them, looking after the animals. I can't just leave them dormant, right? So some businesses are a little bit more difficult than others, but no doubt thinking about buying a business right now is something I'd absolutely be thinking about. Actually, you probably heard the term mergers and acquisitions. Thinking about buying competitors right now is also something you should be thinking about. Actually wrote an email about this last week, which, when you're, with your clients, the ones that are in good shape and are ready to, they can't wait to get back to work and they're going to bloody blitz it, do a lot of things differently. They should be thinking about buying competitors, not only their businesses, but just their databases. Because believe me, most businesses just shut down, names, phone numbers, email addresses, past client lists, etc. They just close down and don't even look at it. They could sell that so easily if they have any brains for, and again, it's so subjective, but 5, 10, 25, 100 grand in some cases, and they just let them die on the computer and the database, which big mistake. But thinking about buying a business right now, again, blood is in the streets. So the reality, and not that I think it's a great message to be out there saying we're going to go take advantage of people. But let's face it, there's just a reality 101 here where if you don't buy it, somebody else is. And if you don't and somebody else doesn't, that means they just close down and get nothing for it. So looking at buying businesses right now, you probably couldn't get a better time. Real estate, a lot of folks are running around looking at real estate. I'll just tell you this, if you go back 100 years, the stock market crashes, which is what's happening right now. And you'll find that real estate will follow in about 12 months. You're not going to get the amazing deals in real estate right now in about a year's time because there's a delay there. There's a number of reasons why, most of which is some people have to buy a house. They've already sold their house. They need to buy a house. They're in a bit of a pickle, like they need to get into something. So real estate prices do hold up for a period of time, but you'll find about a year's time they start to crash. But more to the point, I think about thinking about investing and making good decisions around that right now makes sense. So buying a company, great idea. Mistake a lot of folks make when they buy a company. Let's just say you're going to go and buy a chiropractic office, as an example, which, by the way, wouldn't be a great business to buy, and I'll explain that in a minute. But let's say you're going to buy that. Let's say that they've got 5 rooms. Actually, maybe let's use the number 10. It'd be easier. So 10 rooms. In other words, they have 10 chiropractors and 10 folks performing. Well, the business that has 10 rooms at capacity is the business that's attractive to most people. When in actuality, that's stupidity. That means that you're buying a business at a premium. That's like buying the most expensive house on a block, right? Not until you want to buy, the least expensive house on a block, because then when you fix it up, the price will come up disproportionately to the renovations that you make. So when I go in and I'm going to buy that chiropractic office and it's got 10 rooms, I want the one that only has 3 rooms full, because that means that I'm going to be able to fill another 7. If they've got 10 rooms and 10 rooms are already full, how am I going to grow it? The whole idea of buying a business is to buy it to grow it. So that being said, so I want an underperforming business, let's put it that way. And I would also look at competitors. So again, chiropractic clinic, look at other chiropractors in the area. And if there's a lot that are thriving and doing really well, then the reality is people in this neighborhood, they understand the importance of chiropractic. So you have a better chance of doing really well. You look around and all of a sudden, nobody's doing any chiropractic. You're going to have to do a lot of education style marketing, which can be very expensive. Education-based marketing is an expensive undertaking. If you're not a talented marketer, you almost want to stay away from it. This is why you don't sell prevention, you sell cures, right? So selling prevention of cancer is very difficult. Selling the cure to cancer is very easy. Think of it that way. Prevention versus cure, education versus the solution. But low-end skill is another thing. You're thinking about buying a business. Okay, ultimately, I buy things and I create things to sell them. If I don't feel like I could sell it, I don't build it. It's that simple. That's just that's a rule that I have. So low end skill. So chiropractor, is that a low end skill? Well, no. Somebody's got to go to school for, I don't know, roughly 6 years to become a chiropractor. That means it's a business that I won't start. Okay. So a hair salon, that would be on the the border of how talented I would want my staff members to be. But let's face it, would I own a barber shop or a woman's hair salon? Okay, barber shop times 10. I would never own a woman's hair salon. Right? Because why? Because the talent required to cut the hair. I've never cut hair in my life, right? But Road Dog, I've seen your haircut, man. I could have a crack at that. I'm pretty sure, man, that I could whip out the tweezers or the scissors, man, and have a crack at it. So a barber, you understand the difference between a barber shop and then a woman's hair salon. The skill level for a barbershop is significantly lower. That's the kind of business that I would normally look at buying. That's not it is a pretty hard and fast rule, but there's some subjectiveness to it that you could factor in. Low-end skills important because ultimately I want to be able to scale, and scale dictates that you can take on staff members. You don't want to have staff, like talented staff members. Engineer, no. Architect, no. Like 5 years in school, that's where we put a no. And then stuff like a corporate or a commercial cleaning company. Most people think cleaning is a horrific business. It's a fantastic business. If you follow this podcast for a while, you've heard me talk about in the past. Rabbit hole I won't go down, but like cleaning is a great business. Hard to scale because of the staffing issues, but there's a lot of ways to get in and around that. So low-end skill is a rule. And then here's another one this is critical. If you're going to go into a business, is the business growing? Okay, so let's look at it as a pie. We've all heard that one. Is the pie growing? I don't just want my slice of the pie. I want to know that the pie is growing. So as an example, let's go anti-aging. Okay, we have an aging population, as we know. Do you think that in 5 years from now, there'll be more anti-aging type stuff, right? This, creams and facelifts and Botox and all that sort of stuff. Do you think there'll be more in the future or less? Well, this is an important factor. I want to know that I'm going into a sector that's going to be growing. Like right now, do you think a business of face masks is going to grow or the opposite, right? They've already come out and said that we're going to have to wear masks on airplanes in the future, right? I'm not sure how you're going to eat, but anyways, you're supposed to work that one out. But so you have to wear masks on a plane in the future, right? Like, you think that's going to grow? The answer is, there is no question. In 10 years' time, masks are going to play a part in our society that they currently do not. That is an example of something that's moving in the right direction. Like personal hygiene, like washing your hands and that sort of stuff. Do you think that's going to be on the rise? And is it and the big question, is that a trend, like as in short term, that's going to fall off? Or is this something realistically you could see standing, the test of time? And I think that it's probably pretty obvious that we've all been hit hard enough. And this has been, crazy enough that I do say a lot. People are pretty stupid and people have pretty short memories generally. But this one's going to stick a little bit. That's obvious. So anyway, so the trend, are you buying a business? Like, is the industry declining? Don't touch it. Is the industry stagnant? Ask some serious questions. Is the business growing? Well, look at it. And then again, another metaphor that I use for this is like surfing, right? Like I'm a horrific surfer. I lived in Australia, but I loved the surf, but I was no damn good at it. But I knew this, like I could stand up on my surfboard and I could do, whatever. I could spin around a little bit. But the bottom line is if I had a good wave, I'm not a good surfer, but the wave would get me into shore and make me look reasonably good. If I had a bad wave and I was a bad surfer, this was not a good combination, right? Or you have a really good surfer can ride a bad wave, but he still doesn't look all that good, and it does get him to shore, but does get him all the way there? And the answer is no. So think about that. Is there a wave that's going to bring you to shore, and then how big is it? And again, go back to anti-aging and think about, whether that's a growth sector, and is it going to continue to be? And the answer is a definitive yes. So yeah, man, I think that looking at buying a business right now is a damn great idea. There's an enormous amount of people doing it. I also You might want to think about selling a business right now while, everybody's out there on the look. You're not going to get top dollar for it as a rule, but might be at that age where you want to, look at letting this bad boy go and do something a little bit part-time, or, work for the guy who buys the business from you, which often happens. That might be the phase of your life. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer to that, bud. But great time to buy a business.
So it's funny, you mentioned, you're talking about trends and stuff, and it just reminded me of our good friend Tony Robbins from his Business Mastery. Do you remember the 7 triggers of crisis? I just posted this on my social, I think a week ago or something like that.
I think I saw something. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's interesting because as you're saying that, I'm like, man, like, again, these are triggers of a crisis, but at the same time, these can also be, if you look deep enough into the future, if you will, these could be opportunities as well. I'll just rattle them off here real quick, Karl. A change in technology,
yeah, please do.
a change in culture, right? A change in the economy, a change in customers' lives, employees' lives, and a change in your life, or just a change in competition. It's funny as we look at this, like, what do we got? 3 or 4 of these literally happening right now to every business, right? It's not just an isolated event. This is just a 3, 4 of these hitting all at once. It's horrific. But at the same time, if you look at that, I guess if you're looking at buying a business, let's just pick on one of them, right? Like changing the economy. Well, the economy's not going to come roaring back that quickly. So, if you're gonna look at that, like how can you take advantage of that? So, anyways, I thought it's just timely looking at these things.
What was I just want to understand, what was the positioning of that? Hang on, what are those called? They're what is crisis?
7 triggers of crisis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
we got a few compounding right now.
Well, this is it, right? And that's the thing. It's like I don't think even Tony Robbins would ever expect, as he's doing this, he's probably like, okay, well, one of these could devastate your business. Never mind 3 or 4 all at once. Right? Like that's the crazy part of all of this. It's like the economy, the culture, our customers, our employees' lives, right? Our own life. These are all changing, right? Like everything, even technology, the way, like take a look at the number of people using Zoom. What did they say? They went from like 10 million to like 200 million users or something silly like that. Like it's insane, right? So technology itself is pretty wild. But anyways, all right, there's my rabbit hole for today. So I apologize for that one.
Well done.
So, all right, next question. Overall else, what makes a good business coaching prospect?
Okay, above all, look, first of all, good clients can, like good prospects can become bad clients. I think that's an important, so like, what am I saying? Don't put all your eggs in one basket where you're like, oh yeah, this is, definitively exactly what I'm looking for. The number of times that, we've got 800 coaches in over 800 coaches in 24 countries that use our software. And, we have things like, so you can find so we created software that basically you can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising, right? So first of all, you don't need to be the greatest salesperson in the world to be able to pull that off. Because obviously if you can walk into a room, you say that, or you get one-to-one with somebody and you spit that out, curiosity is going to happen instantaneously unless you make an absolute meal of it. So that's what's going to happen, and that's the goal. What I'm getting at is that it surprises me sometimes the folks that absolutely, crush it with us, and then the folks that don't, like the ones that come in are like, oh my God, this guy or this gal's got some serious moxie, been a speaker for X amount of time. They're really going to do well with this. So, so sometimes the ones who we think aren't going to do so well crush it, and those that we think can't miss have a difficult time. And so be a little bit flexible with that versus making some hard and fast rules. I would say, I've been on record saying this a lot, like what I'm looking for is somebody who's hungry. You are a business owner, and you are hungry. I can change your life, the frigging end, right? Because I will, again, and when I was coaching, if you were a realtor, I'd sit with you in the car for like a day at a time to be able to really understand what it was that you were up to and what you were doing. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, if you were hungry, I was going to find the breakthrough. And then I was dogmatic with, reading the books, doing the audios, watching the videos, doing the training, and just to make sure that I was the most knowledgeable business coach that I could possibly be. So the nuts and bolts hunger really worked for me, because if they were hungry, I was going to be hungry. We were going to crush it together. Somebody who is advertising, especially now, right? Like people who are advertising make good coaching prospects, because again, people don't buy advertising. People are basically saying, I want to grow my business. I'm trying to make my phone ring. I'm trying to fill my inbox, right? So when somebody's advertising, this definitely goes in the right direction. Guys who join clubs like Road Dogg, you and I down the road, we've got the yacht club, right? Like again, members of the yacht club on average, and again, this is not black and white, but there's going to be a lot of business owners at the yacht club. That's a 101. You don't need to join to know that. And the guy who joins the yacht club, he didn't get there by accident, right? Like, I mean, this guy or gal, like they were fired up. They were hungry. Because you're not hungry, you don't end up there. Also, BNI and the chamber. Again, people who have joined the chamber, joined BNI. Again, they whipped out their credit card to join a community and try to progress their business. That's really what a membership to something like BNI represents. I think that gets lost times 10. Like people think they join BNI because they want to be part of BNI. It's got nothing to do with, that is not why they joined. They're looking for referrals. They're looking to expand their business. They're a little bit lonely, right? They've got this home, they're a financial planner working on their own. They're looking for some people to socialize with, right? So those folks, another X factor of that is the day that you decide to advertise, the day that you join BNI, the day that you join the chamber, you're vulnerable is the wrong word, but more likely to buy coaching the day that you join. Because what happened is there was an event in your life that led you to whip out your credit card and buy the ad or join the club. So having a relationship with the people who join people at BNI and that join the folks at the chamber and, log people into the website of the yacht club so that they're now members or park their boat out the front. Having a relationship with those people is really important, because when they make that decision, they're in the state of, look, we're going to the next level, we're rocking and rolling. That can be a great time to sell them coaching. And then just think of guys like, again, a good prospect, a professional athlete. In order to become a professional athlete, Road Dogg, I know what you're going to say in a second, so I might as well say it for you. Like my boy Tom Brady, right? I love the guy. I don't actually even love him that much. I don't like the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll see if I decide to cheer for them a little bit now that my boy has joined them. But the guy, he's the greatest of all time. His work ethic is just bloody insane. And that's the kind of guy, like if you were a personal trainer, do you think you might be able to help Tom Brady, right? Like don't always be looking for the dog's breakfast that you're going to elevate. The best coaching clients are the guys that are already doing well, and then you pour gasoline on it. Like that's really important, right? So again, if you were a personal trainer, a dietitian, do you think you might be able to assist Tom Brady? And the answer is absolutely. And then it comes back to you, are you the kind of person that's attracting the Tom Brady's, the high level operators, or are you just, are you operating at the level where you're going to BNI and not the yacht club? Like, here's my question. Do you feel comfortable walking into the yacht club? And if you don't, you got to find a way to feel comfortable. And how do you do that? I think what you're doing right now, you're listening to me. You're not listening to me, for your good looks. You're listening to me, I would assume, because you're a business coach trying to elevate. And you should listen to others, right? There's a lot of other, the Dan Kennedys and the Tony Robbins and you name it. Get out there and listen to these folks. Get the highest level of education. And I think then you're going to be more comfortable walking into the yacht club and getting those Tom Brady-esque type coaching clients. So Road Dogg, that's what I'd say, man. And again, back to you guys. So are you hungry, right? Are you, like, what's the example I've given in the past? Like a crackhead. A crackhead doesn't wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I don't need any crack today. No, a crackhead wakes up and just, they don't have to, beg, borrow, cheat, and steal to get crack. Well, that's the way you've got to approach your business. And then, of course, do they want good crack or do they want bad crack? I have no idea. There's good and bad crack, but I can only assume that's the case. I watch Breaking Bad, so I guess there's some better stuff out there. So if you want those higher level clients, you've got to, put yourself in a position where you're comfortable out there at the yacht club. So there you go, Road Dog. Over to you, bud.
Tom Brady, hey? Like, you can't make it through one episode.
I know, it's crazy. I don't know, man. It's taken on a life of its own, but I can't help it.
It's a bromance, folks. It's a bromance. That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. Just, I'm sure Tammy, I don't think Tammy would mind, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyways, we'll leave that one there, and let's talk about something else. Oh, boy. Here we go. Another one that could lead down a rabbit hole here, Carl. So, my God. All right. Buckle in, folks. My client doesn't have proper financials. Should I insist they get them? Here we go. If you can keep this one under 20 minutes, talk about financials, I greatly appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so you're laughing. Okay, firstly, look, they need to have a scoreboard. Like, again, if we're going to go to a football game, and I don't know what two teams are going to be playing, but possibly my boy Tom Brady could be in the game, you want a scoreboard, right? Like, if there's no scoreboard, you're going to lose. The entertainment factor is going to go down in a big, bad hurry. Depending upon the size, they need three documents: a balance sheet, an income statement, and a cash flow statement. That's it. Those three. And there's all different names for them, like the income statement, you call it profit loss and everything else. It's all the same damn thing. Don't get confused by it. It's totally not intimidating. If you do nothing more, if you just go into their credit card statements, okay, or more their bank account, and their credit card statements, you would be able to pull out and create an income statement for them. Not that I expect you to be able to get to that level, and frankly, that is not necessary. But this is something that you should really, be taking the time to work out, and most definitely an income statement. In order to advise your client properly, an income statement is something that is required, okay? And what is on there that's so exciting? It's just their expenses, okay? Just an example here, guys. If your client has 20% margins, and then you help them earn $1, as in you make them a sale, how much do they keep? And the answer is that they keep 20 cents, right? Well, if you go to their credit card statements or their expenses, and you either put a line through something and just say, look, this is no longer necessary. And then, by the way, if you're wondering what is necessary, it's just two things. One, does it get them a client? And then the second question, and does it keep them a client? And if it doesn't do one of those two things, basically the expense should be looked at hard and fast, and with some semblance of probability, you'll be able to put a line through it. Okay, but understand. So let's say that you're a coach and you're $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. Well, if you want to be able to pay your fees, that should totally be your undertaking. That should totally be your goal, is to pay your way as quickly as possible, like within 90 days for sure. Where do you think a better place to go is? Do you think you should go to their expenses and rule some stuff out where they can keep 100 cents? Or do you think you should go to driving traffic, drawing business, ramping up their sales where they're keeping 20 cents, right? And that's not to say that you don't grow their business. Businesses are for growing, not for running. You hear me say that a lot. It's really important that they do grow, but let's make sure that we're doing it in an intelligent manner. Like, before we go and press the gas pedal, let's make sure that the bolts are on the wheels, as an example. So that's pretty important. And initially, again, just go through, and if something can be ruled out, rule it out. Here's another example. Like, let's say you got a business. Break even is also, I want to put it down as a semi-secret sauce for managing somebody's financials. So once you establish, let's just say this business coaching client, which these numbers are going to be a lot easier because I know a lot of folks are completely intimidated, and financials is something they just don't understand. But let's just assume that they got 20% net profit ratio, and then they have a 60% gross profit ratio, okay? Which would be pretty damn close to where your clients would live without even looking at their numbers, right? Well, let's assume that they do $800,000 a trade, and then $400,000 is their break even. Okay, well, on the first 400,000, they're making net profit margins. Okay, just follow me here. Net profit ratios, that is. So they make $80,000 on the first 400, right? Just 400 times 0.2. There you go, 80,000. On the second, remember they did $800,000 in total. On the second 400,000, they make 60% margins, so that's 200. On the second 400 grand, they make $240,000 of profit. And on the first 400,000, they make $80,000 of profit. Okay? What am I saying? You want to help your clients control their expenses as part of your coaching relationship times 10. Underline it, bold it, italicize it, the whole lot. Just capitalize it. It's so important that you help them manage their expenses. Remember, like that, you guys heard me say this, the eighth wonder of the world. There's 7 wonders of the world, right? The Great Wall of China, the Colosseum, etc. The eighth wonder of the world is that expenses have a way of crawling up to revenues. Okay, you've got to control that by helping your client do that. And without you, they won't do it. Okay, and remember, that's ruling expenses out. And then also a word that's so important, negotiation. Go back to their clients and say, look, we're paying X for all of our supplies. Can we pay 5% less than X? We'll pay you up front. We'll do this, we'll do that, whatever it is. Go to your landlord and say, look, we're paying this much rent. If we move, we can get it for this much. Would you be willing to we'll sign a 3-year deal. Would you be willing to wipe $500 a month off? And if you do the math, you multiply 500, right, by the year, that's $6,000 that go straight into their bank account, 100% profit, because otherwise it was an expense they no longer have, right? So that's super important. So the answer is absolutely yes. You should help them get these things together. If they don't have them, that means they probably don't have an accountant they're currently working with. This can be a great way for you to form a joint venture. So you say to them, look, you're going to be my coaching client. I want to be able to help you get, a scoreboard and really, get a profit loss or an income statement together. It's the same thing, a profit loss and income statement, exact same document. So we should really get this together. Why don't we go sit with the accountant? I will come with you. You're not going to get paid to do this. Maybe you will. You probably won't. You don't need to get paid because what do you think the accountant's going to be thinking when you march your coaching client into the accountant's office and say, look, we got to get this guy's act together. He doesn't have a scoreboard and I'm coaching him. And without a scoreboard, I can't coach him properly. Well, after that meeting, you get a hold of that accountant and say, look, could I grab your card? Awesome. You sound like a really great accountant. You call the guy and say, well, look, do you mind if I bring other coaching clients to you? And by the way, do you have anybody that you're currently working with that I might be able to assist? And by the way, when you think of me assisting them, remember, I know that your accounting clients come to see you 3 months after the year is over. Well, when they work with me, as you can see, I just brought my client in there. I know the importance of managing scoreboards and understanding their income statements and managing their expenses. So what I will do is the clients that you recommend to me, I'll make sure that they come in to see you 2, 4, potentially 10 times, 12 times a year throughout the year, and therefore you get paid, 3, 4, 5 times as much from those specific clients. So you see how you could all of a sudden take that one coaching relationship, march them into the accountant's office and create a joint venture for yourself and have a dynamic where the accountant says, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'll send you some folks if you'll help me do that. And the answer is abso-stinking-lutely. Another thing that's really important when you're looking at financials, especially this day and age, cash is king, and these business owners are now finding it. Like, look at their accounts receivable and just see, again, if they have an accounts receivable problem at $500,000, and then you help them grow their business to $1 million, their accounts receivable problem is going to be significantly bigger at $1 million than it was at $500,000. They've got holes in the boat, and you're in the middle of the lake. Okay, so without fixing the holes in the boat, you are going down. Like the end. Accounts receivable problem means that they drove the traffic, they got the client, they paid the commissions, they fulfilled on the service, they paid, their staff to fulfill on the service, and then they never collected the money. Like, It's stupidity on bloody steroids, and it's happening all the time. If it wasn't a rampant problem, it wouldn't be one I'd be talking about here, and I've talked about it many times in the past. Like, if they have an accounts receivable problem, you need to stop everything they're doing and go fix that problem. And then it's a tiny bit of a rabbit hole here, Road Dog, but accounts receivable, it's normally like a line item on their balance sheet. In other words, if I'm owed $100,000, it's just one line item at $100,000. And it wasn't that long ago that I spoke about it, but it's super important. That line item needs to be itemized. So if there's like 7 people that owe the $100,000 does you no good. You need the 7 businesses that owe them the money, and then you know exactly how much each one of them owes. And then how aged is it? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or beyond? Once it gets beyond 90 days, you've got yourself a major, major, major problem. Like, are you getting paid? Right? So, real simple things like that that are very hard or very easy, to, go and patch up. But the business owner, it's not sexy. It's not delusional. To go and collect the money that you've already earned for some reason, this isn't sexy and delusional and a lot of fun. Driving traffic, learning Facebook ads and that sort of thing, that's fun. So that's where they all go. And think about the insanity of this. A business owner with an accounts receivable problem and therefore a cash flow problem drives traffic on Facebook. In other words, spends money with a digital marketer that calls them up to fix their cash flow problems. Okay, they have an accounts receivable problem. They're not collecting money that they're already earning, creating a cash flow problem, and they try to solve that cash flow problem by driving more business. Okay, they deserve a dunce cap, and they got to go sit in the corner and stare at the corner of the wall for a solid 10 minutes before you let them come out, if that's what they're doing. And this is what they're falling for. This is what they're doing. Remember, this is why they need coaches. They need when we walk into a business, we've just got a brighter, more impressive set of eyes on their business, or otherwise they are inside a safe, and the numbers are the combination lock is on the outside. They can't see it. They're on the inside. They need somebody else to come see the numbers, punch them in, and open it up for them. Right? Like, they are inside the box, so they therefore can't see out. They're inside the safe. They therefore can't see out of it. So there you go. So that's what I would, Road Dog. The answer is a definitive yes. This is something that everybody should start to understand at a higher level. We've just ramped up our in-house training on financials so that our coaches can really understand exactly how to go sit with a business owner, read a financial statement, or as an income statement or a profit loss, which is the exact same document. 2 popular terms for it, but really understand that document and what goes on to that document so that they can find their fees. Not only find their fees, but guarantee in writing that they will double the return on the investment with their coaching on a month-to-month basis. So if you're getting paid $2,000 a month as a business coach, you can provide in writing a guarantee to a business owner that you will return $4,000. And we've got all sorts of really cool spreadsheets to kind of lay it out. But anyway, so that's something we're wrapping up internally. I encourage every coach to really understand this stuff. It can be intimidating for the average, but if you want to keep clients for years, you should do this. If you want to continue to keep clients for months, and then at 90 days, they say that they're overwhelmed, not keeping up, and that they're going to call you in 60 days once they get their head back above water, which of course never happens, then continue to not understand their financials. And, you gotta play the game of lead generation for 100 years with your damn coaching clients. So there you go, Road Dog. That's my answer around proper financials, my man.
So I just got to say, I was speaking with a friend of mine. His wife has a gymnastics studio just outside of Philly. And we were chatting about just the economy and everything else. And he had mentioned that he is making sure that his landlord knows that they will be continuing to pay their lease because he's like, I have a feeling that's going to be very beneficial for me at renewal. And I would just encourage, you talk about just going and having that conversation. Think about how many people right now, how many landlords, how many, people that own commercial space are sitting there going, geez, I wonder if these guys are going to pay next month. And could you imagine you now are going to come in and negotiate maybe an extra, hey, look, I just want to is there something we can do, maybe taking off 10% right now, and I can guarantee you that, right, you're going to be paid up for the rest of the lease or whatever, right? Like how much comfort that
100%.
right, that property owner, and think of the impact that you're making all around. So
yeah,
anyways,
communication, man, is what you're describing, right? Like that's pure gold. Even with your staff, by the way, speaking to your staff and explaining the state of the nation, and revenues are down, things are a little bit tough right now, but here's where we're going to this is what we're going to maintain, this is what we expect to see in the future, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you really got to communication, which, by the way, and really, because again, real business owners right now are so bloody busy, it's insane. Like I can honestly say it. I'm not trying to say that, I'm up in that category, but I can tell you the last 3 weeks, I have never worked this hard in my life. And I swear to God, I am not 1 ounce of exaggeration here. I have never worked this hard in my life. And why? Because it's time to knuckle down. You know what I mean? Like, again, we've got 800 coaches around the world. We plan to have 5,000, but like the 800, we're not going to, we got to support the 800 to get to the 5,000, not get to the 5,000 by ignoring the 800. Like, it's common sense. But I just tell you, real business owners are getting down and dirty, and this is where they're working harder than ever. Some of that training that we've just introduced, again, we've introduced it now, again, so that our clients can feel more comfortable that they can go in and help these folks in and around financials and cash flow issues when the doors open back up. And right now, while they're hunkered down, we just knew that was training that we needed to create. And we had, again, virtual events. We knew that we had to have a program for virtual events. We created it. We took an existing, incredibly successful program, and we adjusted it in 72 hours. We had our virtual events program ready to go, launched, and going. So right now, real business owners are bloody busy. Get down, get dirty, and you will be paid very handsomely. And again, you won't necessarily feel it, right? It might be one of those invisible things you don't feel right now, but you will be paid very handsomely in relationships, like what you were saying a minute ago about, the landlord opening up and communicating. This is all bloody hard work, right? But this is what you got to do right now. You got to communicate 10 times the level, and you got to adjust your existing offering to, suit the time. So anyways, that's what I got, man. I hope that's good. Where are we at? We got more questions, or are we ready to rock?
I think in just to respect everyone's time and for everyone to go out and apply the knowledge of getting paid handsomely by a man himself who is quite handsome, but not nearly as handsome as his co-host. Any final parting shot words here?
If you actually, I was going to, so look, if you want to look, trial and error, guys, is something you really want. Like, trial and error is one thing, but getting the education is another, right? So I don't know who this was. I think it was Gary Hulbert. I could be wrong here, but if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. And I was like, oh my God, that is such a good quote. So in other words, if you're going to go and make every mistake in order to get ahead, you're going to have some pretty thick skin, and you're going to have to be a pretty tough cowboy in order to make it to the other side. So the reality is you need to get into the audios, the books, the DVDs, etc. And of course, you need to go learn this stuff out on your own, but to plan to make every mistake so that you can then pop out the other end and have the wisdom and not use others' mistakes and experiences in your favor, you're crazy. So that's the parting word, man. If you're going to be stupid, you better be tough.
There you go. And honestly, no better way than to learn than just go out and do and learn from those mistakes, right? So, all right, my friend, thank you. You can close the gates to the castle again, and you're safe, behind the moat. Again, thanks everybody for tuning into another fantastic episode of Business Coaching Secrets with our boy King Karl. And again, if you want more information on how to build your coaching company, be sure to check out focused.com. Again, that's focused.com. And again, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with an existing coach or someone you think that would make a fantastic coach. Other Tom Brady fans just like Karl. Always have lots to talk about there, that's for sure. And of course, we'd appreciate you rate it, because again, that is how their algorithm works in terms of getting us to the top of the board. And with that, all I'm going to say is tons of information here. Just be sure to go out and apply a little bit of what you learned, because remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, folks.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.